Good morning. I hope you are doing well. I can't believe it's already March. 2019 is going by so quickly, but trying to just slow down and be intentional and just to really enjoy every moment. And I hope you are doing the same. The weather around here in the Pacific Northwest is getting sunnier, still cold, but at least the sun is coming out and we are really looking forward to spring. So if we have not met yet, my name is Jessica Abawa and I am a speech language pathologist here at Fluent Children's Therapy. And I just like to jump in here every Friday morning and just chat with you a little bit about some commonly asked questions that parents come to us, share some tips on how you can help your child with communication and speech and language, and to just share some of my knowledge with you in little bite-sized pieces. So today's conversation about communication is on the topic of talking too fast. A lot of times parents will come to us and say, wow, my child is talking really fast. I think there's something wrong with them. Or after we have already assessed and determined that your child has a articulation disorder, when parents aren't seeing the progress that they hope they would be seeing, they attribute it to their child just talking too fast. And so today I just wanted to tease some of that information out to kind of give you some background information, some foundation knowledge on speech and how it develops and whether or not talking too fast is really a problem. So first of all, there's a couple of things that we can talk about. When it comes to speech, there are some underlying foundations in terms of what is considered typical or normal and what is not. And oftentimes we'll talk with families about children who are not as intelligible. And so when it comes to intelligibility, there are some norms, and intelligibility is just a fancy way to say that what can other people understand of your child? When your child talks, are other people understanding them or not? And when we have to look at age, because as we know, as children are learning language, they try to talk like adults, but it doesn't always work out that way. So when we're looking at how much should you be understanding your child, it depends on their age. So at age 2, parents or other people, it's really other people, because as parents, you know that you can understand your child far more than other people. So when we're looking at intelligibility, you have to think about, is it just me, mom or dad or brother or sister, or is it the clerk in the grocery store or the other children at the playground? Who are you looking at in terms of determining, other people can't understand my child? So at 2 years old, it should be 50% of the time, approximately. 3 years old should be 75% of the time. And then by 4, it should be closer to 100%. There are still going to be sounds that your child may need to still work on all the way up to age 7 or 8. But by 4, for the most part, other people should be understanding almost everything your child is saying. So, kids will say things like, that was, I want to see the fish in the water. And yeah, they didn't get the F sound for fish and they didn't get the T for water, but you still understood what they were saying. And so that's just an example of the difference between intelligibility and having all of the speech sounds in place. So when you think about, is my child just talking too fast and that's why other people can't understand them? Maybe it could be the case, but more likely there's some other underlying things going on, whether it's they don't have all of their speech sounds yet, and there are, ages where they should be getting some of those foundation speech sounds. And maybe in a future video, I'll talk about kind of where those are, different ages, and where we expect speech sounds to come in. Every child is different, and so every child is going to develop at their own pace, but when we look at the science and the research, there are specific sounds that come in a little bit sooner than some others. So that's talking about intelligibility. So could slowing down help your child to be understood by others? Yeah, sure. Does it directly relate to it in terms of does it directly cause it. So if your child's talking too fast, does that cause a speech disorder? Not necessarily. The other thing we want to look at is if your child has already been diagnosed with an articulation or a speech disorder, then slowing down could definitely help your child, because a lot of times what we see, it's not so much the rate of speech, so how quickly your child is talking, that's contributing to the problem or making it worse, but it's how is your child registering in their mouth, what we call their articulators, so the parts of your body that are required to make speech sounds, such as your lips, your tongue, your jaw, your cheeks. Is your child registering where all of those things are in their mouth in the way that's going to help them to learn the speech sound or correct the speech sound? And that's what I see more often in the kids and the families that I work with, is that yes, they are talking too fast, and so they're not slowly and deliberately learning where to put their articulators to make that sound. And so that's more what is going on when we hear parents say, oh, Johnny just talks too fast, that's why he's not learning his sound, or that's why he's not doing well in speech therapy, or that's why he's not moving as quickly. Maybe, but maybe it's more of we need to work on getting that motor pattern learned. And so when we look at speech is a motor pattern. And so motor learning needs to go on. And when we think about motor learning, you can think about how you learn to ride your bike. You were a little bit wobbly at first, you may have fallen down a bunch, or maybe how you learned snowboarding, or any sport. When you first learned a sport, everything was kind of awkward. Or when you learned to play a musical instrument, everything, you didn't know where to put your hands or how to hold your instrument or whatnot. And so you needed to learn things over and over and over through repetition. I think about people learning to play piano. They play scales over and over and over until it becomes natural for them. And it's that motor learning and motor memory that is the same for speech. So when we're looking at, does my child talk too fast? Perhaps. And so maybe slowing them down and slowing their entire body down might help. But I know for a fact that there are many adults, myself included, that often talk too fast. And a lot of people will tell me, well, you talk too fast. Can you just slow down? You're giving me a lot of information. I think of like auctioneers and blah, 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 and it sounds like gibberish to other people, but the people in the audience of the auction can understand and pick up what they're saying. So there are people who talk fast but do not have a speech disorder. And then there are kids who have a speech disorder and talk too fast and need to slow down in order to learn the sounds that they're working on. One other great tip that we talk to families about a lot is that parents, as mom and dad, if you slow down your speech, that can be a model for the children to slow down their speech as well. And this is particularly important when your child is working on basic foundation skills like imitation. If your child is not imitating a lot of sound or words yet, sometimes slowing yourself down and really having your child look at your face and follow what you're trying to do can help a lot. But also if you have a child who is maybe stuttering or again is unintelligible, they're not, other people can't understand them as well, you as the parent slowing your speech down, becoming more deliberate and intentional about what you're saying can really help your child to learn and attend to what you're saying in order to imitate either the sound or the words or the pacing of your speech. So there is definite benefits to slowing down, but again, just because your child talks quickly, it doesn't mean they have a speech disorder. We need to look at the sounds that they're making. Are they appropriate for their age? If your child is 9 or 10 and still not saying the R sound, that's going to be a problem if you want them to have that sound when they are an adult. There are some adults who don't pronounce R very well, and that's fine. You can understand them just fine, so their intelligibility is just fine. It's more a matter of slowing down and seeing what those sounds are and how much other people can understand them. So I hope that was helpful. Have a great weekend. I will drop a link below if you want to learn more information about intelligibility, rate of speech, and I will see you next week right here in our Facebook page for another conversation about communication. Take care.